Hey everyone, ready to dive into some software testing today? You know, that super important part where we make sure everything actually works like it's supposed to.
Yeah, it's gotta make or break, right?
Totally. And you know what? Our listener has this awesome collection of articles and research notes comparing manual and automated testing.
Oh, sounds like someone's got some homework to do.
Exactly. So we're going to help you sort through it all and figure out like what the core differences are and which approach is best for different situations.
Yeah, it's like this big debate, right?
Mhm.
Human intuition versus the power of automation.
I like that. A battle of the testing titans. So imagine this. We've got our manual testing team on one side, those skilled humans ready to click and explore. And on the other side, we've got the automated testing army with their scripts and code ready to execute tests at lightning speed.
It is kind of like that. But it's not always about who wins, you know? It's
Hmm.
more about picking the right tool for the job.
Okay, I like that. So let's say we've got our toolbox here. Inside, we've got manual testing, and then we've got automated testing. Can you break down the basics for us? Like, what are we actually talking about when we say manual testing?
Sure. So manual testing is basically exactly what it sounds like. You have a human tester who's actually interacting with the software, clicking through different things, filling out forms, basically trying to find anything that breaks or doesn't work the way it's supposed to.
So they're like detectives searching for clues, huh? Trying to find those hidden bugs before the users do.
Yep, pretty much. They're looking for crashes, glitches, anything that doesn't feel right or, makes the software hard to use. It's the original way of testing software, really.
Yeah,
Been around forever.
got it. So manual testing is all about that human perspective, trying to use the software like a real person would. What about automated testing then? What does that look like?
Well, with automated testing, we use code to write scripts that basically do the testing for us. These scripts can run through tons of different scenarios much faster than any human ever could. And that's kind of the main point, speed.
Okay. So right off the bat, it sounds like automated testing has a huge speed advantage. Is that like its biggest selling point?
Yeah, definitely. Think about it like this. If you're testing a simple login process, a human tester might take, I don't know, maybe a couple of minutes to go through all the different combinations, like typing in a valid username and password, then trying an invalid username, going through the forgotten password process, all that stuff. But an automated script, that could run through hundreds of different login combinations in just seconds.
Wow. Okay, that is a massive time saver. But I'm guessing it's not just a simple automation win situation. You know, your toolbox analogy makes me think that each approach has its own like pros and cons, right?
You got it. Speed isn't everything. While automation is great for those repetitive tasks, manual testing is a lot more, how do I say it, a lot more flexible and creative.
Yeah, so like a human tester might notice that a button is in a weird place or that the website's color scheme is totally confusing even if everything is technically working fine.
Exactly. They can give feedback on the overall feel of the software, the user experience, something automated scripts just can't really do.
Right. Makes sense. So, we've got speed and user experience. What other things should we consider when we're thinking about choosing between manual and automated testing? What about accuracy? I mean, humans, we're not perfect, right? We make
Mhm.
mistakes. So, how do we make sure the testing is accurate and reliable?
Well, that's a good point. Humans definitely make mistakes, but you know what? Automated tests can have errors too. It really depends. Like if you have a script that's written incorrectly, it could totally miss a critical bug. But for those really repetitive tasks where the steps are super clear, automation can be really, really reliable.
It's like a trade off then potential human error versus the risk of like a poorly written script, right?
Exactly. And it's also important to remember that the best testing strategies often use a mix of both approaches.
Okay, so it's not an either thing. Now, I know everyone's probably thinking about this. What about cost? Building and maintaining all those fancy automated scripts, it can't be cheap, right?
You're right. There is an upfront investment with automation. You need the tools, you need engineers who know how to write the scripts, and then there's the ongoing maintenance as the software changes and evolves. But remember what we said about speed. Those time savings can really add up and actually save you money in the long run, especially for large projects with a ton of repetitive testing.
So it's kind of like an initial investment that pays off over time, especially if your software is constantly being updated and tested.
Exactly.
Makes sense. But then for smaller projects or maybe startups that are, a little tight on budget, manual testing might be the better way to go, at least at first.
It could be, especially if the software is still kind of in its early stages,
Yeah.
and changing a lot. Having a human tester who can adapt to those changes quickly can be super valuable.
Yeah, it really seems like the best approach just depends on the project itself and what you're trying to achieve. There's no one-size-fits-all answer.
Absolutely. You got to understand the nuances of each approach and make smart choices based on the specific goals and constraints of your project.
So we've talked about speed, user experience, accuracy, cost. What other things should we consider when we're comparing these two testing titans? What about adaptability? Like, software changes all the time, right? New features get added, bugs get fixed. How do manual and automated testing handle those constant updates?
That is a great question and a key consideration.
Yeah.
Let's say you're working on a web application and the development team decides to, oh, I don't know, revamp the entire user interface.
Uh-oh. Sounds like trouble.
Could be, but it's pretty common. They might move some buttons around, change the color scheme, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and those little changes can have a big impact on how people actually use the software, right?
Absolutely. Now, for automated testing, this can be kind of a pain. Every time the UI changes, you might have to go back and update your scripts.
So someone has to go in and tweak the code every time a designer decides to move a button or something.
Yeah, pretty much. And that can be really time-consuming and expensive.
But a human tester can just roll with those changes, right? They see the buttons move, they adapt, no problem.
Exactly. Manual testers can be much more flexible when it comes to things like UI changes or, just unexpected scenarios in general.
So another point for manual testing in the adaptability category. But on the flip side, if you have a really complex system with a ton of different features and workflows, automating those tests can save you a lot of headaches down the line.
You got it. It's all about finding the sweet spot, that balance between the flexibility of human testers and the efficiency of automation.
It's like this ongoing dance, isn't it, between human intuition and the power of code. Both sides have their strengths, and it's up to the development team to figure out the right choreography for each project.
I like that. That's a great analogy.
So we've covered a lot: speed, user experience, accuracy, cost, adaptability. But I have a feeling there's more to this story. Is there like a fundamental difference in the type of insights we get from manual versus automated testing?
Yeah, you're definitely onto something. We talked about how humans can look at the overall user experience, but let's dig a little deeper into that.
I'm all ears.
So when it comes to assessing things like user-friendliness, visual appeal, the overall feel of a website or app, human judgment is still super important.
It's hard to imagine a script capturing all those little nuances that make a website feel intuitive and fun to use.
Yeah, exactly. There's a level of understanding there, a subjective understanding, that automation just can't replicate.
So if you're building something like, I don't know, a really visually stunning website or an app that needs to be super easy to use, having those human testers on board is still essential.
Definitely. They can give you invaluable feedback on things like the flow of the website, the color choices, the placement of buttons, the overall aesthetic appeal.
Okay, so manual testing gets the gold star for human insight and user experience. But I bet there are some areas where automation just blows manual testing out of the water. Like, what about when you need to test the raw performance of a system, making sure a website can handle like a zillion users all at once?
You're totally right. When it comes to that kind of brute force performance testing, automation is the clear winner. We're talking about things like load testing, stress testing, spike testing, trying to simulate thousands of users hitting a website all at the same time with manual testers. Good luck with that.
Yeah, that would be impossible. It'd be complete chaos.
Server chaos. But with automation, you can create these virtual armies of users that all hit the website at the same time and see how the system handles it.
So if I'm building something like an e-commerce site that needs to be ready for, Black Friday traffic, automated testing is my new best friend.
100%. It's the only way to really make sure your system can handle those massive spikes in user activity.
This is eye-opening. It's not just about picking a side, manual or automated. It's about understanding what each approach is good at and using them strategically based on what your project needs.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
It's all about choosing the right tool for the job.
So we've covered a lot of ground. We've explored the battlefield and identified the key strengths and weaknesses of manual versus automated testing. But I have a feeling there's more to this story. We've talked about how these approaches are used today, but what about the future? How is this whole landscape changing? What's on the horizon?
You're thinking about AI, right?
Exactly. Everyone's talking about it. How is artificial intelligence going to shake things up in the world of software testing? What do we need to know to be ready for what's coming next?
That's the big question, and that's exactly what we'll be diving into in our next part.
All right. Can't wait. I'm already intrigued.
It's going to be a fascinating discussion. We'll be exploring how AI is poised to really change the way we approach software testing and what that means for both manual and automated approaches.
Whew, sounds like a cliffhanger. All right, everyone, make sure you come back for part 2 of our deep dive into the world of software testing. We'll be exploring the future of testing and how artificial intelligence is going to change the game.
See you then.
All right, we're back and ready to dig a little deeper into the world of software testing. Before we jumped into the future, we were talking about manual and automated testing, and how they each have their own strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, it's like they each have their own superpower, but also like their own kryptonite.
Totally. And just like superheroes, they work best when they team up.
Right. Exactly. Manual and automated testing, they're not really rivals. They're more like partners in crime.
I love that. So let's talk strategy. If I'm leading a development team, when should I call in the manual testing team? When is their expertise absolutely crucial?
So think of manual testing as your special forces unit. You deploy them when you need that adaptability, that keen eye for detail, that human touch. One area where they really shine is exploratory testing.
Okay, remind me what exploratory testing is all about. Is that where we just kind of let the testers loose on the software and see what they find?
Pretty much. It's less about following a strict script and more about using intuition and experience to uncover issues that, you might not have anticipated.
So it's like real-world testing
Yep.
with a focus on how actual users might experience the software.
Exactly. A good manual tester can really put themselves in the user's shoes and try different paths and identify those potential pain points that a script just might miss.
Right. Because automated tests, they're good at following instructions, but they don't always understand the why behind user behavior.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of user behavior, usability testing is another area where manual testing is super valuable.
Oh, yeah. Usability testing, that's where you get real people to actually use the software and you kind of watch how they interact with it, right?
Exactly. You want to see if they get stuck, if they can find what they're looking for easily, if the whole experience is enjoyable.
It's funny you mentioned that. I was just watching some of those user testing videos online the other day. The ones where people try to use a website and they get totally frustrated?
Oh, yeah. Those are classic.
I mean, it's hilarious to watch, but I bet it's not so funny for the developers.
Definitely not. But those tests are super valuable. You get those insights into the user experience that you just can't get from a script.
So exploratory testing and usability testing, those are two areas where manual testing is king. What about when things are changing really rapidly in a project? We were talking earlier about how software is constantly evolving.
Right. So that brings us to ad hoc testing, which is basically testing on the fly.
So it's less structured.
Way less structured. It really relies on the tester's intuition and their knowledge of the software.
So if the development team makes a last-minute change to a feature, we might call in the manual testing team to do some quick ad hoc testing to make sure we didn't break anything.
Exactly. They can quickly assess the impact of that change and give feedback to the developers.
Sounds like manual testers are the ultimate problem solvers.
They are. But let's not forget about our automated testing heroes. They've got their own strengths.
Okay, let's switch gears and talk about automated testing. When do these scripts really save the day?
One word: regression testing. Remember, this is all about making sure that those new code changes haven't broken any existing functionality.
Right. So every time we add a new feature or fix a bug, we run our automated regression tests to make sure everything else is still working as expected.
Exactly. And this is where automation really shines. It can run through tons of test cases super fast, way faster than a human ever could, ensuring that your software remains stable and reliable with every update.
It's like having an army of robots constantly patrolling for any signs of trouble. I can see how that would be super valuable, especially for big, complex software projects.
Absolutely. And we can't forget about performance testing, another area where automation really excels, like trying to simulate huge user loads or stress testing a system's limits. That would be almost impossible to do manually.
Right. Trying to coordinate hundreds of people to all click a button at the exact same time, that would be pure chaos.
Chaos is the right word. But with automation, you can spin up those virtual users by the thousands and see how the system holds up.
It's like having your own personal robot army, ready to push your software to its breaking point.
Exactly. And it provides invaluable data for developers, helping them to identify bottlenecks and make sure that the software can handle those real-world usage scenarios.
So we've got regression testing and performance testing as two major wins for automation. What about those cases where you need to run the same test over and over again, maybe with little variations?
Ah, yes. The repetitive tasks. Automation loves those. If you had to manually test the same login process 100 times with different username and password combinations, you'd probably go crazy.
Oh, I think I would start seeing ones and zeros in my sleep.
Huh. But an automated script, it could just keep chugging along, executing those tests perfectly day in and day out.
So anytime we have a task that's really repetitive and well-defined, automation is the way to go.
Exactly. And that frees up our human testers to focus on those more complex and nuanced aspects of testing, like exploratory and usability testing, where their skills are really valuable.
This is all making so much more sense now. It's not about picking one approach over the other. It's about understanding the strengths of each and using them strategically to build like a really strong testing strategy.
I couldn't have said it better myself. It's
Yeah.
all about having the right tools for the job.
Okay, so we've explored the current state of manual and automated testing, and it's clear that both approaches are essential for building great software. But we all know that technology is constantly evolving. What's next? What's on the horizon?
AI. That's the big one, right? How is artificial intelligence going to change the world of software testing?
That's the million-dollar question. And I think that's a perfect place to leave our listeners for today. Make sure you come back for part 3, where we'll be diving into the future of software testing and exploring how AI is going to change everything.
It's going to be a wild ride. See you there.
Okay, so we're back, ready to finish our deep dive into the world of software testing. And we left off with a pretty big cliffhanger.
AI. Everyone's favorite topic these days, right?
It is. So let's get into it. How is artificial intelligence going to, like, revolutionize software testing? What does the future hold?
Well, imagine this. Software that can basically test itself.
Whoa, hold on. What? Test itself?
Yeah, where AI can, like, analyze code and predict potential issues even before they happen.
That sounds kind of like magic. Like, how is that even possible?
Well, it's all about the data, right?
Yeah.
Every time we use software, we're generating tons of data. Clicks, scrolling patterns, the features we use the most. AI can take all of that and use it to, like, understand how people actually interact with the software.
Okay, so it's like AI is watching us and learning from our behavior.
Exactly. And then it could use that knowledge to, like, design its own tests that are based on real-world usage.
That's incredible. So instead of relying on those pre-programmed scripts, we could have these AI-powered tools that are constantly learning and adapting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it goes even further than that. AI could also help us analyze those test results and actually identify, like, the root cause of a bug, even suggest potential fixes to the developers.
Wow. That's next level stuff. It'd be like having like an AI detective on the team helping us solve problems faster and more efficiently. But I got to ask the question everyone's thinking. If AI is going to be so good at testing, does that mean human testers are going to be out of a job?
It's the big question, isn't it? And to be honest, it's not an easy answer. AI is definitely going to automate a lot of aspects of testing.
Yeah.
But I don't think it means the end of human testers.
Okay, so maybe instead of replacing human testers, AI will just kind of augment their abilities.
Exactly. Think about it as like a collaboration. AI handles those repetitive data-heavy tasks, and that frees up human testers to focus on the things they're really good at, like exploring complex scenarios, evaluating that user experience, providing that nuanced insight that AI might miss.
So human testers become more like, I don't know, strategic advisors, guiding the AI, making sure it's testing the right things in the right way.
Yeah. Or they might become specialists in training those AI tools, fine-tuning them, making sure they're aligned with the specific needs of a project.
This is fascinating. It sounds like the future of software testing is all about this kind of partnership between human ingenuity and the power of AI.
It is. It's not about one replacing the other. It's about finding the right balance and using the strengths of both to build even better software.
I like that. Working together to create something amazing. Well, there you have it, folks. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. From the fundamentals of manual and automated testing to the mind-blowing possibilities of AI-powered testing. It's clear that the world of software testing is constantly evolving.
But it's only getting more exciting from here.
Absolutely. So to everyone out there building and testing software, keep exploring, keep learning, and most importantly, keep innovating. The future of software is in your hands.
Until next time.